When you're ready to start digging and dividing dahlia tubers and recording it in Clade, you can go to the module called Dividing in the whether you dig and divide all at once in the fall or do those as separate processes. There are two things you're going to want to do when you first go into the dividing module to get it set up. The very first is you're going to want to go to View Settings and decide if there are any fields that don't make sense for your process. For example, if you don't ever leave clumps undivided, you can remove this setting. Next thing you're going to want to do is set up your storage locations. You can see if you want to add a storage location, you're going to need to create them. I haven't created them yet. Let's create these together. If we go to our sidebar and go into Settings, under Preferences, and all the way at the bottom is our storage locations. If you want to track separate boxes, for example, you can just type out each box. Let's add 6 in here since I already had box 6. This could be whatever naming convention you want. I'll say I have 6 boxes to store things in. Now if I go back into inventory and dividing, you can see I now have my 6 storage locations. Go ahead, pause this, build out your storage locations, make sure you have the right column showing in settings, and then let's walk through this. Now that you've done those things, you're back. Let's talk about what's in here. For each variety, you have locations, and this will pull automatically if you've already used the planting module and indicated what locations you planted them in. And if you haven't, for example, with just peachy, I don't have what location is in there. I can put the location in as I dig them. Locations are areas that you plant. They're a different setting, but they're also under the settings page. So if you haven't set up locations, you can do that as well at this point. Once you've indicated the location, then you can say how many clumps you dug of that particular variety. If you divide immediately, go ahead and indicate that here. If you don't, you can fill this out when you come back to it. You can say that you maybe divided 10 of them, left, I should say 2 undivided. And from those 10 clumps, this is where you indicate how many viable tubers you got. Let's pretend I got about 3 per clump. I got 30 viable tubers. And then you don't have to use this, but if you really want to be able to understand over time which varieties have the most viable tubers, you can always indicate how many tubers were not viable, so you can start to get a ratio. You might have huge clumps from certain varieties and only a few eyes, and that's something you can track here. So let's say I only had 10 that I threw away. The other way people might use this field, instead of indicating what they discarded during dividing, is they might store all of their viable tubers and then come back once they bring them out of storage and indicate how many survive storage. It's up to you exactly how you want to use this. This total for planting is really important because this is going to indicate how many that you want to pull into the planting module. This is different from viable divided tubers because there might be tubers that you plan to give away, trade, sell. You're going to want to remove those from here. So let's pretend of my 30 tubers of aubergine, I want to keep 10 back to plant on my own, and I'm going to sell, 10 back to plant on my own, and I'm going to sell or trade 20 of them. So I'm going to put 10 in here, and I'll store them in box 1. If you put the date stored, you can start to get some information over time on how long you're keeping each variety in storage, how long they take to wake up, etc. Storage score, I wouldn't come back and fill out until I pull things out of storage, unless you happen to already know what stores well or doesn't. My aubergine has always started fine, so I'm going to put 2 for here, and then you can put any notes. Let's say you think the tuber's looking suspicious for a disease and you want to track it, put that in the notes. Anything that's important to you specific to dividing. And that's it. Pretty simple module. It should help you track a lot of information over time. I want to show you the reporting that accompanies this. So if you go back to your sidebar and reports, and click on dividing. This is going to show how many, once you divided, you have for planting, how many total divided tubers you had, how many were non-viable, just some basic stats up front. It's going to also show you how many or which dahlias have high numbers of tubers per clump, and then which ones have the lowest, which is really interesting over time if you primarily sell tubers. Same with storage scores, your top and bottom, and then same with viability. There's a whole bunch of information in here, and it's hopefully going to make you better and better at dividing and storing tubers over time.